Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has handed over $170,000 United States dollars to the Canadian government, being proceeds of financial crime perpetrated against victims in Canada. The EFCC Chairman Ola Olukoyede also handed over other assets, including 53 vehicles, saying they were recovered following an extensive investigation conducted spanning several years. He says the ceremony is indicative of government's zero-tolerance posture against cybercrime. Well, joining me here to speak about this is Dr. Oludare Akinlaja, CEO, Oludare Akinlaja Research and Development Group. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Now, given the significant amount of recovered funds, just as we've said, and also the assets as well, how effective would you say the EFCC has been in combating financial crimes in Nigeria? Do you think there are specific strategies or initiatives that have contributed to this success?
Well, thank you for having me. The EFCC has so let me use the word can. The EFCC truly can do a lot with combating crimes. Of course, when it comes to our environment in Nigeria, of course, we know there are other factors that play with respect to carrying out their assignments. But the truth is, EFCC actually can get the job done if it needs to get the job done. Now, with respect to the cybersecurity we're speaking about today, I think the EFCC has done its bit, and they can do it if they are allowed to work. I think they are prepared for it. I think they have experts in their own field. Like I tell people, it will shock you to know the kind of capacity we have within our security apparatus if it is void of any politicking or interventions from external factors.
All right. You did mention if it's void of any politicking, but I'll come back to that because I'd like you to discuss more on that. But then again, the handover of assets to Canada indeed highlights the importance of international collaboration in fighting financial crimes. Now, how does this incident demonstrate Nigeria's commitment to global efforts in this area? And what are the potential implications for future cooperation?
Well, it's very interesting. I'm sure you remember that some time ago, there was a particular car that they said was traced to Nigeria from Canada. I don't know if you remember that story.
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, so what this will give to us as a people is that the nation has zero tolerance for this. So irrespective of what happens in foreign nations, the nations, wherever these crimes have been perpetrated, will seem to say, oh, okay, it seems Nigeria is ready to allow us either investigate people from there and get our returns back. So this collaboration is beautiful for the interactions between that environment and this. You know, it's important because, you know, it's possible that people think that once they commit crimes and they come back into Nigeria, they're probably shielded, okay, and nobody can touch them anymore. But you see, when those countries know that no matter where you run to, they can still investigate you, you can still be charged for your crimes, and they can still retrieve whatever assets that you have wrongly collected from people. It's very important for the perception of our country and how people perceive us from outside.
Let's talk about instilling trust, especially in the anti-graft agency. Now, what we see here is the anti-graft agency is going after cybercrime, and most importantly, many have lauded this initiative of ensuring that a lot of stolen items, assets are repatriated or taken back to the country where they were stolen from. But it's a rather mixed feeling for some Nigerians because they feel while the EFCC is putting all its efforts, just as we've seen here in the cybercrime situation, there seems to be a lackluster performance in anti-graft engagement, especially back home. We've seen cases where even politicians who ought to have been caught or have been apprehended seem not to have been apprehended yet. What's your take on that? Where it seems like back home, the FCC isn't as strong as it should be, but then again, the international scene is being perceived as being very strong.
Well, I'll answer that question like a design thinker. I'm sure the anti-graft agency have said to themselves, so let's look at the part of least resistance and how can we create quick wins, okay? If we are internally trying to get things done and there's going to be so much of limitations with respect to dealing with interest, dealing with pressure points and all why don't we pay our attention to things that can give us quick wins? Because if cybersecurity will give us quick wins, of course, you know that globally Nigeria is perceived in certain light with respect to cybersecurity, even if we are not even in the top 3 countries that have high cybersecurity problems. But you know, it's just that our name is mentioned everywhere. I don't know for whatever reason. And you know, this kind of conversations will help Nigeria receive a kind of perception booster with respect to the fact that its anti-graft agency is trying to deal with these cybersecurity issues globally. But of course, with the internal conversation, I'm sure the EFCC and its stakeholders have said to themselves, you know what, why don't we look at somewhere and look for a low-hanging fruit, sort of, you know, that we can create quick wins with, that can help us do our jobs and get some level of wins for the country.
Thank you so much for joining us here in the news, Dr. Oludare Akinlaja, CEO Oludare Akinlaja Research and Development Group. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Great.